My daughter Kara stood next to my brother's casket and told 30 family members that I had dementia. She announced they were putting me in a nursing home next week, for my own safety, of course. The room went silent. People stared at me with pity. Not one person asked if it was true. I sat there in my funeral suit watching my own daughter bury me alive with lies, and all I could think about was the promise I made to my dying wife 8 years ago. "Take care of Kara," Helen had whispered. "Make sure she never wants for anything." Well, I kept that promise. I gave her everything: college, wedding, down payment on her house. I worked double shifts as an electrician for 30 years to make sure my little girl had the perfect life. But that night, sitting in my empty kitchen, I realized Helen never said anything about letting Kara destroy me. My name is George Sullivan, and 3 days later, I taught my daughter the most expensive lesson of her life. But before I tell you what happened next, let me know in the comments where you're listening from and whether you've ever dealt with ungrateful family members. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories of quiet justice. It all started 35 years ago when I married Helen Murphy. She was a secretary at the power company where I worked as a union electrician. Helen had this way of making everyone feel important. Even me, with my calloused hands and work boots. We got married in a small ceremony at St. Mary's. Nothing fancy. Helen wore her mother's dress. I wore my only suit, the same suit I'd wear to Kara's graduation 23 years later. Metro Power Company was good to us. Union wages, solid benefits, stock options that most guys ignored. But not me. I watched those quarterly statements like they were treasure maps. Every quarter, I'd reinvest the dividends. Helen would tease me about my secret hobby. Kara came along 3 years after we married. Helen quit work to raise her. I picked up overtime to cover the bills, double shifts, weekends, holidays, whatever it took. Then came Helen's diagnosis. Breast cancer, stage 3. Kara was 27, fresh out of college, just starting her teaching career. Helen fought for 2 years. I spent our savings on treatments, specialists, experimental therapies. Nothing worked. The last night, Helen's voice was barely a whisper. "Promise me something, George. Anything. Take care of our girl. Make sure she never wants for anything." I squeezed her hand. "I promise." I kept that promise for 8 years, maybe too well. Helen died believing Kara would honor her memory, but standing in that funeral parlor, watching my daughter lie to our entire family, I realized Helen never met the woman Kara had become. After Helen's funeral, Kara needed everything. College loans to pay off, a wedding that cost more than my annual salary, a down payment for her starter home in the suburbs. "Dad, I hate asking," she'd say, twisting her engagement ring, "but Timothy thinks we should buy before interest rates go up." Timothy Walsh, dental surgeon, country club member, the kind of man who shook hands like he was calculating your net worth. He never asked about my work, never thanked me for the wedding check, just smiled that polished smile and talked about investment opportunities. I wrote every check without complaint. Kara's wedding, $15,000. Her house down payment, $40,000. New furniture, new car, new wardrobe for her new life. "How do you afford all this, Dad?" she asked once, signing the title transfer paperwork. "I manage," I told her. She never asked again. What Kara didn't know was that I'd been building something for 30 years. Those Metro Power stock options everyone ignored. I took everyone. Automatic reinvestment, dividend compounding, quarterly purchases. The numbers grew quietly in statements I kept locked in my bedroom dresser. By the time Kara got married, my portfolio was worth over $400,000. By the time Helen died, it had grown to $520. Add my other investments, my pension, the house value. I was sitting on over $700,000 in total assets. She never asked how I afforded it all. Kara saw a modest row house, work clothes, and a checking account with $1,200. I let her see exactly what she expected from a blue-collar father. After the wedding, everything changed. Kara's visits became inspections. She'd walk through my house like a real estate appraiser, suggesting improvements I couldn't afford. "Dad, this carpet is ancient. And when's the last time you painted?" Timothy would nod along, checking his phone. Their new circle of friends talked about vacation homes and private schools. I became the embarrassing father who worked with his hands. "George fixes electrical problems," Kara would explain at dinner parties. Not, "My father is an electrician." Not, "Dad works for the power company, just fixes electrical problems," like I was a handyman they hired occasionally. The requests for money kept coming. Dad, our property taxes went up. Dad, Timothy's practice needs new equipment. Dad, we're thinking about private school for Emma. Emma, my granddaughter. 8 years old and already learning to be ashamed of Grandpa's work clothes. Why don't you dress nicer when you visit? Kara asked one Sunday. Emma's friends might see you. That's when Kara started suggesting I needed help managing my money. Dad, you're 70. Shouldn't someone be helping you with bills, making sure you don't forget anything? She brought it up every visit. I could take over the finances, Dad, just to make things easier. The paperwork appeared a month later. Official documents from Timothy's lawyer friend. Power of attorney forms with my name already typed in the blanks. It's just a precaution, Kara explained, in case something happens. I'd hate for your bills to fall behind. The forms looked so professional, so official, so caring. Kara scheduled the appointment with attorney Paul Morrison for a Tuesday morning. Just routine paperwork, Dad. Nothing to worry about. Morrison's office smelled like leather and old money. Mahogany desk, law degree on the wall, handshake that lasted exactly 3 seconds. Kara had obviously briefed him about her elderly father's needs. Mr. Sullivan, Morrison began, your daughter is concerned about your ability to manage complex financial matters as you age. Complex financial matters, like I hadn't been managing a growing investment portfolio for 30 years. This power of attorney will allow Kara to help with bill paying, account management, routine transactions, very standard document for seniors. Kara nodded encouragingly. Just peace of mind, Dad. But I read every word. This wasn't a general power of attorney. It was specific, limited to accounts disclosed to the attorney in fact, accounts Kara knew about, the checking account with $1,200, the savings account with $8,000. What she didn't know couldn't be managed. I signed the papers. Morrison notarized them. Kara hugged me like I'd just given her a gift. Thank you, Dad. I promise I'll take good care of everything. She thought she was managing my entire financial life. What Kara didn't know was that my house wasn't owned by George Sullivan. It was owned by Sullivan Properties, LLC, a company I'd incorporated 20 years earlier. The deed transfer had been part of my retirement planning. Liability protection, Helen's lawyer had called it. Kara's power of attorney couldn't touch Sullivan Properties, and she couldn't manage what she didn't know existed. I gave her exactly what she could see, nothing more. The changes started immediately. Kara redirected my bank statements to her address. For easier record keeping, she explained. Within a week, she was asking questions. Dad, your monthly budget seems low. Are you sure you're telling me about all your accounts? I sipped my coffee. That's all there is. But your Social Security and pension should cover more than this. Where's the rest going? Bills, I said. Groceries, gas. Kara exchanged glances with Timothy. Dad, we need to sit down and review your entire financial picture, for tax purposes. Timothy leaned forward. George, at your age, you should be maximizing your estate value, consolidating accounts, planning for long-term care. Long-term care. The first time anyone mentioned nursing homes in my presence. I could move everything to one bank, Kara suggested. Streamline your finances, make everything simpler. That's when I realized she was fishing. Looking for hidden accounts, undisclosed assets. She'd taken control of my visible money and wanted to find the rest. The phone calls started coming. Kara asking about irregular transactions on my statements. Small transfers I'd made between my secret accounts and the one she monitored. Dad, there's a $500 withdrawal last Tuesday. What was that for? Groceries. $500 of groceries? I stock up. She was building a case I didn't know about. Every question, every concern about my spending, every suggestion that I was forgetting things. Kara was documenting my supposed incompetence, one conversation at a time. She was already planning my future. I kept my real financial statements in a safety deposit box at First National. Every quarter I'd drive downtown, review the numbers, and lock them away again. 30 years of Metro Power stock splits, dividend reinvestments, and compound growth. The latest statement showed the truth Kara couldn't see. Metro Power Company stock, $520,000. Blue chip mutual funds, $180,000. Municipal bonds, $45,000. Money market account, $15,000. Total investment portfolio, $760,000. Add the house value, owned by Sullivan Properties, LLC.
and my total net worth topped $800,000. Not bad for a blue-collar electrician who supposedly couldn't manage his own checkbook. Kara thought she was managing $1,200 in checking and $8,000 in savings. She had no idea about the safety deposit box, the LLC, the 3 decades of careful financial planning. My power of attorney with Morrison had been specific. Kara could only manage disclosed accounts. I'd disclosed exactly what I wanted her to see. The checking account she monitored was my weekly allowance to myself. The real money lived in investment accounts she'd never heard of, with statements mailed to a post office box I'd maintained for 20 years.
Every month I'd transfer just enough from my hidden accounts to cover living expenses. Kara saw an old man stretching his pension. I was a millionaire living modestly by choice. She thought she was managing my entire financial life. She was managing less than 2% of my actual wealth. But I wasn't done testing her character. Not yet. The family dinner happened on a Sunday in October. Kara's McMansion in the suburbs, perfect lawn, 3-car garage. I arrived in my 10-year-old pickup truck, wearing my church clothes. Emma answered the door. "Hi, Grandpa." No hug, no smile. Just politeness trained into her by parents who saw me as an embarrassment. Kara had invited Timothy's parents, Dr. and Mrs. Walsh, country club people who discussed their European vacation over appetizers I couldn't pronounce. "George works for the electric company," Kara explained when conversation turned to careers. Past tense. Like I was already dead. I tried sharing a story about rewiring the old courthouse downtown. Historic building, century-old electrical systems, 3 months of careful restoration work. "Dad," Kara interrupted, "I don't think everyone needs to hear about work stories." Timothy's father nodded. Different generation, different interests. I started to see how they really saw me. Dinner conversation moved to Emma's private school, Timothy's practice expansion, vacation plans for Aspen. I sat there cutting my overpriced steak, listening to them plan a future that cost more than most people's annual salary. "Grandpa doesn't ski," Emma announced when they asked about my holiday plans. "Grandpa doesn't do much anymore," Kara added with a pitying smile. Timothy suggested I might enjoy senior activities at the community center, bingo, crafts, chair exercises. I excused myself early. Getting tired, long day, Kara walked me to the door. "Thanks for coming, Dad." "Maybe next time wear something nicer?" I started to see how they really saw me. The doctor's appointment was Kara's idea. "Just a routine checkup, Dad. At your age, we should monitor cognitive function. Dr. Patricia Chen at Metro Medical Center." Kara had called ahead, expressing family concerns about my memory and decision-making. "Mr. Sullivan," Dr. Chen began, "your daughter mentioned you've been forgetting things, having trouble with bills?" I looked at Kara. "What trouble with bills?" "Dad, last month you asked me the same question about property taxes 3 times in one conversation." I hadn't, but Dr. Chen was writing notes. The cognitive assessment took an hour. Memory tests, word association, simple math problems. I scored perfectly on everything. 29 out of 30 on the mini mental state exam, well above normal for my age. "Your father's cognitive function is excellent," Dr. Chen told Kara in the hallway. "No signs of dementia or cognitive decline." Kara's face went tight. "But he seems confused sometimes. Forgetful." "Normal aging," Dr. Chen said. "Nothing to worry about." Kara scheduled a second opinion the following month. Different doctor, same tests, same results. Perfect cognitive function, no signs of mental decline. But Kara wasn't documenting my mental health. She was building a paper trail. Medical visits, concerned daughter consultations, documented family observations of my supposed decline. She was creating evidence for something I didn't understand yet. The third doctor visit was scheduled without my knowledge. Kara called Dr. Chen's office, requesting copies of all my medical records for family planning purposes. She was building a case I didn't know about. The phone calls started in November. Concerned neighbors, worried friends, former coworkers asking about my condition. "George, this is Betty from next door." Kara said you've been having some memory problems? Betty Martinez had lived next to me for 15 years. She knew I was sharp as ever, but Kara's whisper campaign was working. "Your daughter's worried about you living alone," Betty continued. "Maybe it's time to consider options?" Options, code for nursing homes. At the grocery store, former co-worker Jim Patterson avoided eye contact. We'd worked together for 20 years, but Kara had called his wife. "Dad's really struggling," she'd told Mary Patterson. We're trying to help, but he won't admit he needs it. My barber asked gentle questions about family support. My mailman mentioned senior services. Even Father Rodriguez at St. Mary's offered to discuss transitional living arrangements. Kara was systematically poisoning my reputation. Every conversation, every concerned call to friends and neighbors, every medical consultation was part of a coordinated campaign.
She was erasing me before the funeral even started. The invitations stopped coming. Church social events, neighborhood barbecues, retired workers' monthly lunches. People were kind but distant, treating me like I was already halfway gone. Kara had isolated me from my entire social circle. When the time came to make her move, no one would question her judgment. They'd all heard about poor George's decline from his devoted daughter. I was becoming a ghost in my own life, and Kara was holding the sheets. I found the brochures in December. Kara had left her purse in my kitchen while helping with bill organization. The glossy pamphlets fell out when she knocked it over reaching for her keys. Sunset Manor, Golden Valley Care Center, Riverside Assisted Living. All three brochures had sticky notes in Kara's handwriting. Memory care unit, private room. Insurance coverage details. Waiting list status. The applications were partially completed.
My name, social security number, medical history. Kara had been filling out nursing home paperwork for months. One application was dated 3 weeks earlier, before any doctor had suggested I needed care, before any medical professional had recommended assisted living. Kara had been planning this for months. The Golden Valley brochure had Timothy's calculations in the margins: monthly cost, insurance coverage, out-of-pocket expenses. He'd done a financial analysis of warehousing me. At the bottom of the Sunset Manor application, Kara had written a note to herself. Dad's house sale proceeds should cover first year. My house. The house owned by Sullivan Properties, LLC. The house Kara couldn't sell because she didn't own it. But she didn't know that yet. I photographed every document with my phone before putting them back in her purse. Evidence of her planning, her conspiracy, her complete disregard for my wishes. Kara hugged me goodbye that afternoon. Thanks for letting me help with your finances, Dad. I know it's hard to admit you need support. Support. She was planning to steal my home and lock me away, and she called it support. They'd been planning this for months. Uncle James died on a Tuesday morning. Heart attack in his sleep, age 76. We'd grown up together, worked at Metro Power together, retired within 6 months of each other. Kara called me at noon. Dad, I have sad news about Uncle James. I sat down hard in my kitchen chair. James was my last close family member besides Kara and Emma, my only ally in a family that was forgetting I existed. The funeral's Friday at Riverside, Kara continued. I'll pick you up. We should probably discuss arrangements. Arrangements. Even my brother's death became an opportunity for her planning. Kara, I can drive myself to my own brother's funeral. Dad, you shouldn't be driving when you're emotional. Let family take care of you. Family. The daughter who was planning to institutionalize me. That evening, Kara came over with more paperwork. Dad, we need to talk about practical things. James's death should remind us that life is unpredictable. She spread documents across my kitchen table. Durable power of attorney, healthcare directives, in case of emergency contacts. Timothy thinks we should update your will too. Make sure everything's organized for when the time comes. Timothy thinks. Everything was Timothy's idea now. Dad, promise me you'll let us take care of you. I couldn't bear watching you struggle alone like James did. James hadn't struggled. He'd died peacefully in his sleep after 76 good years, but Kara was rewriting history to support her narrative. I knew she was going to make her move. Friday morning arrived gray and cold. Riverside Funeral Home smelled like flowers and furniture polish. Uncle James looked peaceful in his navy dress uniform, hands folded over the flag that would cover his casket. 37 family members came to pay respects. Cousins I hadn't seen in years, old neighbors, former co-workers. Kara worked the room like a political candidate, accepting condolences and managing arrangements. I sat in the front row, remembering James as a young man. Boot camp stories, first jobs at the power company, his wedding to Aunt Sarah. Good memories of a good brother. Kara kept checking her watch. Timothy stood near the back, talking quietly with his parents. Emma sat between me and Kara, uncomfortable in her black dress. Grandpa looks sad, Emma whispered. Grandpa's having a hard time, Kara replied.
This is difficult for elderly people. Elderly people. Like I was a category, not her father. The pastor began his remarks about James's life of service. Navy veteran, loyal employee, devoted family man. Simple words for a complicated man who'd lived honestly for 76 years. Kara leaned over to Timothy. He nodded and moved closer to our row. This felt planned, rehearsed. After the pastor finished, Kara stood up. Family, if I could have everyone's attention for just a moment. The room went quiet. 37 people turned to look at us. Kara's voice carried clearly across the chapel. Something felt different about how she looked at me. I need to share something important with all of you, Kara announced. Her voice was steady, practiced. It's about Dad. My chest went cold. I knew what was coming, but couldn't move to stop it. Dad has been showing signs of early-stage dementia. Memory problems, confusion with bills, difficulty making decisions. We've been trying to help quietly, but it's time to be honest with family. The room was absolutely silent. I could hear the air conditioning, someone's stomach growling, the rustle of tissues.
After much discussion with medical professionals, Timothy and I have decided that Dad can no longer live safely alone. We're moving him to professional care at Sunset Manor next week. I sat frozen in my funeral suit, the same suit I'd worn to every family wedding and graduation for 20 years, watching my daughter bury me alive with lies. Cousin Patricia nodded sympathetically. "Oh, George, I'm so sorry." Uncle Robert cleared his throat. "That's probably for the best, Kara. These decisions are never easy." Aunt Linda reached over to squeeze my hand. "We'll visit George, don't worry." My granddaughter Emma looked embarrassed to be related to me. Not one person asked if it was true. Kara continued. "We wanted you all to know so you can say goodbye properly. Dad's been such a proud man. He didn't want to burden anyone with his struggles. I wasn't even asked, just announced like a decision that had already been made. That's when I stopped being their victim." I said nothing. Not one word of protest, defense, or explanation. I sat in that funeral home watching my family accept my daughter's lies, and something fundamental shifted inside me. For 8 years since Helen's death, I'd been playing the role Kara assigned me. Grateful old father, recipient of her charity, burden to be managed. But sitting there listening to her erase my dignity in front of everyone who mattered, I remembered who I really was. George Sullivan, 30 years at Metro Power Company, union steward, problem solver, man who'd built an $800,000 net worth from nothing but hard work and smart choices. I watched Timothy shake hands with family members like he'd just closed a business deal. Watched Kara accept sympathy for her difficult decision. Watched my granddaughter avoid looking at me. They had no idea what they'd just done to themselves. Kara had made one critical mistake. She'd humiliated me publicly in front of witnesses based on lies she couldn't prove. Every person in this room would remember this moment. When the truth came out, they'd remember who lied and who stayed silent. I started taking mental notes. Who nodded approval? Who offered help? Who believed Kara without question? Who would feel guilty later for not defending me? Evidence, witnesses, character testimony. Kara thought she was announcing my surrender. She was actually documenting her own fraud in front of 37 witnesses. The old George would have tried to explain, defend, plead for understanding. The new George was already planning her downfall. After the announcement, people approached Kara to offer support. I remained seated, invisible now that I'd been officially declared incompetent. Kara and Timothy stepped into the hallway to discuss logistics. They thought I was too far away to hear, but 30 years of electrical work had trained me to listen for problems in noisy environments. "The timing is perfect," Timothy said. "With Uncle James's death, everyone expects family stress. No one will question the decision." "How long before we can sell his house?" Kara asked. "Once he's in memory care, we can claim legal necessity. Liquidate assets to pay for his care. Standard procedure. My house. The house owned by Sullivan Properties, LLC. The house they couldn't sell because they didn't own it." "What about his other accounts?" Kara continued. "He's been secretive about money lately." "We'll find everything once we have full financial control. Old guys like him always have coffee cans buried in the basement." Coffee cans. They thought I was hiding spare change like a Depression-era relic. "The lawyer said once he's institutionalized, we can petition for full guardianship. Control everything." "Perfect. I've already called Sunset Manor. They have an opening Monday." Monday, 5 days away. Kara had scheduled my imprisonment before announcing my incompetence. Your father won't know what hit him, Timothy said. That part was wrong. I knew exactly what had hit me, and I was already planning to hit back. They had no idea I was listening to every word. I drove home in my pickup truck, past neighbors who now thought I was mentally incompetent, past the grocery store where employees would soon whisper about poor old George, past 30 years of memories in a neighborhood that no longer saw me as the man I really was. My house felt different when I walked inside. Not like home anymore, but like evidence in a case I was building against my own daughter. I sat at my kitchen table and spread out the documents Kara thought she controlled. Power of attorney papers, bank statements, the bills she'd been managing for me, limited power of attorney covering only disclosed accounts. She could manage my $1,200 checking account and $8,000 savings. She could pay my utility bills and grocery expenses. What she couldn't manage was Sullivan Properties, LLC, the corporation that owned my house, the investment accounts she didn't know existed, the safety deposit box with 30 years of financial statements, the post office box where my real mail was delivered. I opened my laptop and reviewed my actual financial position. Metro Power stock, $520,000. Mutual funds, $180,000. Bonds, $45,000. Money market, $15,000. House value, $80,000. Total net worth, $840,000. Kara thought she was stealing from a poor old man living on Social Security. She was actually trying to rob someone wealthier than most of her suburban neighbors. The irony was perfect. My blue-collar background had made her underestimate me so completely that she'd planned my destruction without understanding who she was really fighting. Some lines can't be uncrossed. Kara had crossed one at that funeral home in front of 37 witnesses. Monday morning, I called attorney Paul Morrison's office, the same lawyer who drafted Kara's limited power of attorney. Paul, it's George Sullivan. I need to discuss revocation procedures. Revocation of what, George? The power of attorney I signed for my daughter. Turns out it's not working out. Silence on the other end. Morrison was probably remembering Kara's confident assertions about my declining mental state. George, are you sure about this? Kara seemed very concerned about your ability to manage complex financial matters. Paul, did you know I've been managing a 7-figure investment portfolio for 30 years? Another silence. Longer this time. I'm sorry, what? Kara has power of attorney over about $20,000 in checking and savings. She doesn't know about the other $820,000 in assets. Would you like to see the statements? Morrison's tone changed completely. George, I think we need to meet. Today. 2 hours later, I sat in his office with a briefcase full of financial documents Kara had never seen. Stock certificates, mutual fund statements, corporate papers for Sullivan Properties, LLC. This changes everything, Morrison said, reviewing the Metro Power statements. Your daughter has been operating under completely false assumptions about your financial capacity. And my mental capacity, Morrison nodded. George, based on these documents and our conversation, you're clearly competent to manage your own affairs. More than competent. You've built substantial wealth through careful planning. So I can revoke her authority? Absolutely. We can prepare revocation papers this afternoon, certified mail to all relevant parties. Kara's power of attorney will be terminated within 24 hours. I had options she couldn't imagine. Morrison's secretary notarized the revocation documents at 3:47 p.m. Tuesday afternoon. Power of attorney revocation, signed, witnessed, legally binding. This terminates your daughter's authority over any accounts covered by the original document, Morrison explained. She'll receive certified notice tomorrow. But I wasn't finished. Paul, I want to change beneficiaries on all my accounts. To whom? St. Jude's Children's Hospital. Complete charitable donation upon my death. Morrison looked up from his papers. George, that's a substantial gift, nearly $800,000. They'll use it better than Kara would. Morrison prepared the new documents, investment accounts, life insurance, bank accounts. Every asset I controlled now designated for charity. What about your daughter? No provision at all? $1, symbolic inheritance, with a note explaining why. George, are you certain about this decision? Paul, you heard her concerns about my mental capacity. If I'm too incompetent to manage my finances, I'm too incompetent to choose my own beneficiaries, right? Morrison smiled slightly. I see your point. Wednesday morning, Kara called my house at 8:23 a.m. Her voice was different, higher, strained. Dad, I got a legal notice yesterday, something about power of attorney revocation. That's right. Dad, you can't just revoke legal documents without discussing it with family. We're trying to help you. Kara, the documents are already filed. Your authority over my accounts ended yesterday. But Dad, who's going to help you manage your bills, your medication, your appointments? I'll manage fine. Her voice went from concerned to panicked in seconds. Thursday morning, I drove to First National Bank with my briefcase of financial documents. Same bank I'd used for 30 years, but today I was restructuring everything. Mr. Sullivan, bank manager Patricia Holmes said, I have revocation notices for your daughter's access to accounts ending in 4,721 and 8,956. That's correct. I also need to update beneficiaries on all my accounts. We spent 2 hours transferring funds, updating paperwork, confirming legal ownership. Patricia reviewed my investment statements with obvious surprise. Mr. Sullivan, I had no idea you maintained such a substantial portfolio with us. Your daughter never mentioned these accounts during her management period. She never knew about them. Patricia's eyebrows raised. She was managing less than 3% of your total assets? Exactly, Kara called again that afternoon. Dad, the bank says you moved money around. Large amounts. Are you sure you should be making major financial decisions right now? My money, my decisions. But Dad, Timothy spoke to a lawyer. If you're having cognitive issues, family can petition for guardianship, for your own protection. Guardianship. The nuclear option. Kara was threatening to have me declared legally incompetent by a court. Kara, I just spent 2 hours with bank officers, reviewing complex investment accounts and making strategic financial decisions. If you think I'm incompetent, feel free to petition the court. Dad, please, we're family. We should work together. Family doesn't lie at funerals. I hung up. 20 minutes later, my phone rang again. Different number. She never had access to the real money. Kara hired attorney Richard Blackwood to contest my power of attorney revocation. Blackwood called Morrison's office Friday morning to discuss family concerns about elderly client competency. Morrison scheduled a meeting for Monday. Kara, Timothy, Blackwood, Morrison, and me. Conference room, formal setting, legal showdown. Kara arrived with a folder of evidence. Doctor visit notes, family observations, documented concerns about my decision-making. She'd been building this case for months. Mr. Sullivan shows clear signs of diminished capacity, Blackwood began. Impaired judgment, financial confusion, inability to manage complex affairs. Morrison opened my briefcase. Let's review Mr. Sullivan's actual financial affairs. For the next hour, Morrison walked through my investment portfolio. 30 years of strategic stock purchases, dividend reinvestments, compound growth. Municipal bonds purchased during market downturns. Mutual fund distributions reinvested quarterly. This portfolio demonstrates sophisticated financial planning and consistent decision-making over 3 decades, Morrison concluded. Kara stared at the statements. Dad, where did all this money come from? Careful planning, something you never bothered to ask about. Blackwood reviewed the documents. His confident demeanor evaporated. Mrs. Walsh, you told me your father had limited assets and poor financial judgment. I thought he lives so modestly. Living modestly and being poor aren't the same thing, I said. Blackwood closed his briefcase. Mrs. Walsh, based on these financial records and my conversation with your father, I cannot ethically pursue a competency challenge. Your father clearly demonstrates excellent cognitive function and sophisticated financial management skills. Kara's lawyer withdrew from the case on the spot. Her own legal expert told her she had no case. Word spread quickly through our family network. Cousin Patricia called Tuesday evening. George, I owe you an enormous apology. Kara led us all to believe you were struggling financially and mentally. I had no idea she was lying. Wednesday brought calls from Uncle Robert, Aunt Linda, former co-workers who'd heard about the funeral incident. Everyone wanted to apologize, to explain they'd been misled. George, this is Jim Patterson. Mary told me what really happened. Kara called her last month, said you were having serious memory problems. We believed her. I'm sorry we avoided you. Thursday, neighbor Betty Martinez knocked on my door. George, I feel terrible. Kara told me you were unsafe living alone. She made it sound like family members were worried. I never imagined she was lying. Even Emma called, my granddaughter's voice small and ashamed. Grandpa, Mom told me you were getting sick. She said we needed to be extra nice because you might not remember us much longer. I'm sorry I believed her. The family turned on Kara faster than they'd turned on me. By Friday, Kara was the one being whispered about. Family members compared notes, realizing how extensively she'd lied to everyone. Her reputation for honesty, built over 48 years, crumbled in 1 week. Sunday after church, Father Rodriguez approached me. George, several parishioners have told me about your daughter's misunderstandings about your condition. I'm glad to see you're doing well. Misunderstandings. Even the priest was being diplomatic about Kara's lies. Kara's social isolation was beginning. Public opinion had completely reversed. Kara called Monday morning, her voice tight with controlled panic. Dad, I need to ask you something directly. How much money do you actually have? Enough. Dad, please. Timothy spoke to our financial advisor. If you really have substantial assets, we need to discuss proper estate planning. Estate planning. 2 weeks ago, she was declaring me incompetent. Now she wanted to plan my estate. Kara, you had power of attorney for 6 months. You never asked about other accounts then. I thought I was managing everything. You let me believe you only had the checking and savings accounts. I let you manage what you could see. You never asked about what you couldn't see. Silence on her end. Kara was realizing the scope of her miscalculation. The bank mentioned investment accounts worth hundreds of thousands. Dad, is that true? It's true. And the house? Somehow there's a problem with the house title. Sullivan Properties, LLC. Kara had tried to get preliminary sale estimates, only to discover she couldn't sell property she didn't own. Dad, why didn't you tell me about these assets? I'm your daughter. I should know about family finances. You're the daughter who announced my incompetence at your uncle's funeral. Why would I discuss finances with someone who thinks I can't manage money? Timothy's voice in the background, urgent and angry. Kara covered the phone, but I could hear their argument. Their calculations had been wrong. Their financial expectations had been based on incomplete information. She finally understood how little she actually knew. I started packing Tuesday morning. Not everything, just what mattered. Helen's photographs, my father's tools, 30 years of Metro Power Company service awards. Kara arrived unannounced at noon. Dad, what are you doing? Moving out. Moving where? You can't just leave without telling family. I can do exactly that. I'm 71 years old and legally competent. I don't need permission to relocate. Kara walked through my house like she was seeing it for the first time. Rooms she'd dismissed as modest and outdated. Furniture she'd suggested replacing. The life she'd been planning to liquidate. Dad, this is your home. You've lived here 30 years. This was our home, Helen's and mine. Helen's gone, and you made it clear I'm not welcome in this family. That's not true. We were trying to help. You were trying to help yourselves to my assets. Kara sat heavily at my kitchen table, the same table where she'd spread power of attorney documents 6 months earlier. Dad, I made mistakes. I can admit that. But abandoning your family isn't the answer. You abandoned me first. At James's funeral, in front of everyone who mattered. I continued packing. Each item represented a choice about what version of myself I wanted to keep. Work clothes went to charity. Family photos went to storage. Legal documents went to my new address. Where are you going? Kara asked. Sunrise Senior Living, independent apartment, activities coordinator position using my electrical maintenance skills. Dad, you don't need to work anymore. You have enough money to retire comfortably. I like working. I like being useful. I like being respected for what I can do. I was disappearing from her world completely. Sunrise Senior Living was nothing like the nursing homes Kara had researched. Independent apartments, active community, residents who chose to be there instead of being warehoused by family. Mr. Sullivan, Community Director Margaret Foster said, we're excited about your maintenance coordinator position. Our residents will appreciate having someone with your expertise. My apartment was small but comfortable. 1 bedroom, kitchenette, living area with space for Helen's piano bench and my father's tool collection. Windows facing east, morning sunlight. View of the courtyard where residents played chess and discussed current events. For the first time in years, people listened when I spoke. George, could you help with my electrical outlet? Asked neighbor Dorothy Chen, a retired teacher. George, what do you think about the new city budget proposal? Asked Henry Williams, former bank president. George, would you join us for Poker Friday? Asked the Thursday afternoon group. They asked my opinions, valued my expertise, included me in conversations. They treated me like an adult instead of a burden. Kara called weakly, her voice increasingly strained. Dad, Emma misses her grandfather. Can't we work something out? Emma's welcome to visit. You're not. Dad, that's not fair. I'm your daughter. You're the person who publicly declared me incompetent based on lies. That's how I'll remember you. Timothy stopped calling after the third week. Kara's marriage was stressing under the financial disappointment and social embarrassment. At Sunrise, I had new friends who respected my independence. Work that used my skills. Life without manipulation. For the first time in years, people listened when I spoke. I was building something Kara couldn't touch or control or destroy. Morrison's office, Friday afternoon. Final will and testament, ironclad and legally unassailable. George, this document leaves your entire estate to St. Jude's Children's Hospital, with the exception of $1 to your daughter Kara. Are you certain about these provisions? Absolutely certain. Morrison reviewed each page. The language is very specific about your reasons for this distribution. I'd written the explanation myself. Kara Walsh receives $1 as token acknowledgement of our biological relationship. She forfeited any greater inheritance through deliberate fraud, public humiliation, and attempted theft of my assets and autonomy. George, this will cannot be successfully contested. Your medical records demonstrate perfect cognitive function. Your financial records demonstrate sophisticated asset management. Your daughter's documented lies eliminate any claim of undue influence. That's the point. Morrison sealed the will in his office safe. Copies to be delivered to all parties upon your death, along with the charitable donation documentation. St. Jude's Children's Hospital would receive $840,000. Kids with cancer, fighting for their lives, grateful for every chance they got. They'd honor the gift better than Kara ever would. One more thing, Paul. I want to record a video explanation, something Kara can watch after I'm gone, to understand exactly why she lost everything. George, are you sure that's necessary? She needs to understand that choices have consequences, that lies and greed and cruelty cost more than money. Morrison set up his video camera. I looked directly into the lens and spoke for 10 minutes. No anger, no shouting, just facts about Kara's lies and my responses. Evidence for when she tried to claim I was mentally incompetent. She was going to get exactly what she earned. The call came on a Thursday at 3:23 p.m. Kara's voice was different, higher, desperate, barely controlled. Dad, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. I'm always honest, Kara. That's the difference between us. A friend of mine works at St. Jude's Hospital. She said they received notification about a major donation. From you. Dad, please tell me that's not true. I set down my coffee cup and walked to my apartment window. Courtyard full of residents enjoying afternoon sunshine. People who chose their living situation instead of having it imposed by lying family members. It's true. Silence. Long enough that I wondered if she'd hung up. Dad, that's nearly $1 million. That's Emma's college fund. That's our family's security. That's my inheritance. Your inheritance? Dad, please. I know I made mistakes at Uncle James's funeral. I know I handled things badly, but this is too extreme. This is my future you're throwing away. My future. After months of planning to institutionalize me, Kara was worried about her financial future. Kara, let me ask you something. When you announced my incompetence to 37 family members, what did you think would happen to our relationship? I thought I was trying to help. You were trying to steal my house and lock me away. You researched nursing homes before consulting doctors. You filled out applications before asking my permission. You lied to everyone who mattered about my mental condition. Dad, I can apologize. I can make this right. You can't unring that bell. You can't undo those lies. You can't take back that public humiliation. But Dad, Emma needs her grandfather. Timothy and I need family support. We're struggling financially. She suddenly wanted to talk about my remarkable financial wisdom. Struggling financially? I asked. What happened to Timothy's successful dental practice? The country club membership? The McMansion in the suburbs? Kara's voice cracked. Dad,
We made some bad investments. Timothy's practice expansion didn't work out. We borrowed against our house to cover losses. And you thought my assets would solve your problems. We thought you only had your pension and Social Security. We thought we were helping manage a modest estate. The truth finally emerged. Kara and Timothy were in financial trouble. They'd counted on inheriting my house and savings to cover their debts.
Their comfortable lifestyle was built on money they didn't have yet. How much do you owe, Kara? That's family business. How much? 200,000, credit cards, business loans, the second mortgage. 200,000 in debt, and they'd assumed my estate was worth maybe 50,000. Their mathematics had been as flawed as their ethics. Dad, if you leave everything to charity, we lose the house. Emma loses her school. Timothy's practice goes bankrupt. Kara, you declared me mentally incompetent in front of our entire family. You tried to steal my home and warehouse me in a nursing facility. Did you expect gratitude? I thought you'd understand we were trying to protect family assets. You were trying to steal family assets. Dad, please, I'm begging you. Don't punish Emma for my mistakes. Emma, my granddaughter who'd been taught to be embarrassed by her grandfather's work clothes, who'd learned to see me as a burden instead of family.
Kara, Emma will learn the same lesson you're learning. Actions have consequences. Lies have costs. Character matters more than money. Her perfect life was crumbling piece by piece. I wrote the letter on Sunrise Senior Living stationery. 2 sentences, carefully chosen, legally precise. Respect is earned, not inherited. You chose money over love. Morrison delivered it by certified mail on a Monday morning. Kara signed for it at 9:47 a.m., according to the postal receipt. She called 20 minutes later. Dad, I got your letter. Good. 2 sentences? After 48 years as your daughter, I get 2 sentences? Those 2 sentences explain everything. You know what you did. You know why I responded this way. Dad, this isn't how families are supposed to work. You're right. Daughters aren't supposed to lie about their father's mental health. They aren't supposed to plan nursing home imprisonments without consent.
They aren't supposed to steal houses and call it love. Kara was crying now. Dad, I'm sorry. I'm truly, deeply sorry. Sorry you got caught. Sorry your plan failed. Sorry you lost the money, but are you sorry you hurt me? No answer. Kara, I kept my promise to your mother. I took care of you for 30 years. I gave you everything I could afford and some things I couldn't. But Helen never asked me to let you destroy my dignity. Dad, goodbye, Kara. I finally kept my promise to Helen.